Hi guys and gals, and welcome back to another Broken Out game video. Today's video is dedicated to artifacts, so let's jump right into it. If you go into the character menu right there, jump into artifacts, and let's go to the mask or crown in particular. Now, what makes crowns so, special, jumping right off the bat, is that they actually have the ability to get a healing bonus, crit damage bonus, and sometimes even like a crit rate damage bonus, right? And crit rate so you can crit more. So the reason why that's important is because essentially each piece of artifact has a special ability towards them, and it's unique to that artifact in particular. And for the crown's sake, it has the ability to get more crit damage or even to do more heals. So it's important for your healers to have a pretty decent cap or crown so that you can leverage those abilities, right? Next, let's cover the goblet or the cup. Now, the special thing about the goblet or cup is it actually increases a particular type of damage, right? So for example, this one's increasing physical damage, and if you want to get this goblet, feel free to check out Tectone's video on Stay Strong. It's an amazing video. I'm pretty sure you've already watched it, but anyways, let's keep going. Sojourner, Goblet of Sojourner. Physical damage bonus. This one increases animal damage. This one increases hydro damage, pyro damage. It kills on and on. It can even increase as far as like geo damage and all sorts of other things. And that's what makes like the cup super special in the sense that it's a damage bonus, and damage bonuses go much farther because it leverages the damage that you're dealing versus just a raw attack stat. Now let's cover like the Hourglass pocket watch deal. Hourglasses and pocket watches are special just because of the fact that they can get elemental mastery or elemental recharge. And why that is so important is because elemental mastery and elemental recharge gives you the ability to essentially use your Q more often or your ult, right? And elemental mastery is important is so that when you do an elemental reaction, you can deal more damage, and we can cover that more in a bit. So let's cover like the feather or the plume. The feather and plume always has a hard attack stat as its main stat. It will never really change, and to me, like, that's more straightforward and is a lot less complicated than other pieces of gear. Like, for the hourglass being elements, the goblet slash cup being a damage bonus, and then the crown being like a healing or crit bonus, right? So with the feather, it's only attack, and then the flower is only HP. You'll notice that each piece of gear, has like different lines of stats to them, and it can also vary in the sense that it can get, percentage stats. Now, just note something like this, Chevalier's Goblet that you can get, it has 4 lines, right? Greens, they usually come with 1 lines, and sometimes blues, they come with 1 lines, but ideally, you can get one with 2 lines. I suggest like it's somewhat safe to upgrade, blue artifacts with 2 lines in them. Like for example, I upgraded this one because it had an HP percentage as its main stat, and I need HP for a character like Barbara whose heal scale off of HP, right? So you want to look out for things like that, right, where it has 2 lines, or ideally it can get 3 lines, or in this case, this one in particular, the goblet got 4 lines. So those are the basics for artifacts and what stats that they can get. Let's go ahead and cover sets and essentially what sets are good for particular roles. So I'm pretty sure for team building, you've seen the fact where you run 1 main damage dealer, you run 2 supports, right? Or a healer in this case, and then 2 supports. So for my main damage dealer, for artifacts in particular, I'm running the Martial Artist and Berserker set. And it's pretty obvious why I would run those sets, because it says it right there. My Berserker set increases crits, and I like having crits. And the Martial Artist increases my normal attack and charged attack damage. So my normal attack damage, would be like my basic swing when I click, and then obviously a charge attack damage is when I hold and click, right? Now, just note that, elemental mastery, like we talked about earlier, this is like when you synergize skills, and then when you use energy recharge, this is pretty much, when you cast your Q, you need energy right after it goes off cooldown to recast it. And I'll show some footage of, my Q constantly like recasting because I'm acquiring so much energy, and this is why it's so important that your supports have energy recharge rate, or you can provide energy recharge to your main DPS. So let's go ahead and cover my healer. Now, for example, in this one, I'm using this healing bonus. Usually I would actually run in particular this why I'm running this exile circlet is so that I can get the set bonus, right? The full exile set bonus, you can see it right here. It increases my energy recharge rate, and we talked about it earlier. This is to cast my Q more often amongst all my allies, and it also provides the ability for my elemental burst, which is your Q, by the way, to regenerate 2 energy every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. So essentially, your allies' Qs will proc more instantaneously, right? Of course, you still gotta wait for the cooldown. And for example, just to talk about it, if we go into Diluc and his, Q is Dawn, this is going to be like the biggest thing that requires energy in order to be casted. You can see here it says energy costs 40, so I'm going to need a lot of energy in order to cast it. And for example, for Shining Miracle, it costs 80, so it costs quite a bit to cast certain Qs, because it's all dependent on what is it capable of doing, right? So next thing is going to be the set that I run, is the Exile and Scholar set. And it's all because, I want more energy recharge so I can cast my Q much quicker. So while my units are, resting, I can pretty much have it so that eventually when I switch into them, they cast a couple of skills and they generate a lot of energy so I can, energy recharge, right? And we've covered this in artifact details, energy recharge right there, right? So the next thing that you're going to want to look at is the instructor set. This instructor set is absolutely amazing because of elemental mastery, and increases everyone's elemental mastery for 8 seconds. And if you haven't seen it already, elemental mastery just increases all of your elemental reaction damage. So that is pretty much how I gear my main DPS, my healer, and then my 2 supports for this particular team. And just note that you don't have to run a team like this. The only reason why you run a team like this is because of something like Abyss, where you have to have a healer and you can't just stop and use healing items, right? And you have to pretty much make your team like do certain things so it can beat the chamber. Even in some cases, Diluc isn't like the favored DPS, just because there are enemies in here who are immune to fire damage, and pretty much casting Diluc's Q does absolutely 0 damage, right? So anyways, that's my video on artifacts. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, and I will see you in the next one.